Oh yeah. Hello everybody and welcome to the entire Hyperpop Iceberg explained. And before I start the video, I want to thank the original creator, user Boppy69 on Reddit for making this iceberg. Also, one other note, a lot of these artists on this iceberg I am a huge fan of, so if you're watching this and you're on this list, my apologies if I get anything wrong. I'm only a 19-year-old college student living with my parents. And it's almost inevitable that I get some things kind of mixed up because the hyperpop scene is very big, including a bunch of underground artists who really have no exposure, and a lot of their personal details are kind of not really existent online. So my bad if I get anything wrong. Please let me know in the comments once again. But please be assured I did try my hardest to fact check everything before I uploaded this video. And the majority of my sources will be straight from the artist's SoundCloud, Spotify, Genius profiles, and also interviews I find online, as well as my personal knowledge of some of these artists. Also, as we get deeper in this iceberg, there will be some, let's say, heavy situations that I won't go too deep into, out of respect for the artists themselves, as well as some people watching this video who might be going through some stuff. But I will still kind of glance over them and talk about them a little bit, but I won't go too deep into detail, and you'll find out what I'm talking about a little bit later in the video. And this original post was made about 2 years ago, so some of the stuff on here is pretty outdated, and there are some artists as well as some situations that unfortunately are not on this list / iceberg, because this was once again 2 years ago, and in the past 2 years the hyperpop scene has kind of changed a lot. So there are a bunch of artists on this list that are not featured on here, but if you're willing to make, whoever's watching this, if you're willing to make another one, an updated version I should say, I will personally feature you on this YouTube channel and make a collab video with us explaining the video. So that's another thing. And some of the items on this list and things on this list are, even according to the creator of this list, don't really make a lot of sense, and they're kind of here just for satire reasons. But without further ado, sit back, relax, and if you're falling asleep to this video, then sweet dreams, I guess, and enjoy as we dive into the entire hyperpop iceberg. Now we're starting off this iceberg with probably the most tame and simple area of the hyperpop music genre there is, that being the Spotify Hyperpop playlist. The Spotify Hyperpop playlist is full of very, run-of-the-mill, pretty popular, mainstream-ish artists that are affiliated with the sub-genre that is hyperpop. Sub-genre, my bad. Artists like Charlie XCX, Midwest, Glaive, artists that are pretty up there in the standings when it comes to popularity, and there's nothing too out of the ordinary in this playlist. If you're just looking into getting into the genre, then the Spotify Hyperpop playlist is probably the place that you want to start out on. Yes, I can hear you guys typing in the comments already, oh, Blade isn't hyperpop, as well as Sad Boys, Drain Gang, and Gravity Boys. I know they aren't really hyperpop at all, basically, but I'm still going to include them on this list because they are kind of affiliated with the whole sound, and they were on this list. And when someone says the word hyperpop, chances are Blade is going to come up eventually, so might as well talk about him right now. If you guys don't know who Blade is, real name Benjamin Richwald. He's a Swedish rapper, singer, producer, and member of the Drain Gang collective. In the year 2016, Blade released his debut album called Ever Since, and was, with mainstream audiences, kind of a mixed bag, but when it came to the underground scene, it was legendary. After later drops like Ice Dancer and Red Light, Blade was seen as a pioneer in his sound and a legend in the underground scene, and today is still releasing music, most recently his album Spider, which was released fairly well. One quick note before I move on, for the first 1 through 3 tiers of this list I won't be going super into detail of these artists because they're already pretty well known, and I don't want to sound like a broken record repeating the same biography of these artists. So when it comes to these bigger artists like Blade, and I'm gonna talk about Young Lean next, I'm not gonna go super in detail. I'm mostly gonna give like a quick synopsis of who they are and why they're so big. So yeah, Young Lean, real name Jonathan Leander. Sorry if I pronounced that wrong, and I probably will a lot on these lists. Young Lean is also a Swedish rapper, singer, and producer, and member of the Sad Boys collective. Younglean first rose to prominence with his debut mixtape, Unknown Death 2002. Following this, he released his second mixtape, Frost God. Younglean is seen as one of the most influential figures of the cloud rap era, taking influences from early trap at the time. Younglean also released a mixtape in 2022 called Stardust, which was received with great praise. Charli XCX, real name Charlotte Emma Atchison, is an English singer and songwriter who's very well known in the underground scene as well as the mainstream, and as someone you'll probably see a lot in the Spotify Hyperpop playlist. In 2008, Charli XCX began posting music on her MySpace, which then got her discovered to play local gigs at local raves. Throughout the years 2011 and 2012, she released probably some of her biggest singles and mixtapes, most notably her Hyperpop collab. After the release of this song, this catapulted her into the mainstream, and even today, she's still regarded as one of the biggest artists in the genre. 100 gecs is a music duo that consists of artists Dylan Brady and Laura Les, who I also just recently saw in concert. Probably one of the coolest concerts that I've ever been to. In 2019, they released their debut album, 1000 gecs, which was met with much praise. Following this, they released their remix album, 1000 gecs and the Tree of Clues, which was also met with much praise. Their super high-pitched vocals and super crazy and spastic production was basically what kind of separated them from the hyperpop artists at the time and cemented them in the scene forever. And even today, their influence still carries strong in a lot of artists. Their second album, 10,000 gecs, was also met with extremely positive praise. A.G. Cook, or Alexander Guy Cook, is an English music producer and founder of PC Music, a UK record label. In 2014, Cook began releasing albums and collabs with artists such as Felicia, Diamond Danny, and Elle Harley, if I pronounced those right. Cook came into the public eye as Charli XCX's executive producer. It's a tongue twister, and produced her project, Number One Angel. And that concludes the sky of the Hyperpop Iceberg. I know it wasn't anything special, it was probably like run-of-the-mill, things you've heard a million times before. And that's kind of what I just like explained in the beginning. Like I didn't really want to go too in-depth into these first couple artists. But now we're going on to the tip of the iceberg, which is still pretty mainstream, but also sprinkled in there is some stuff that you might not have heard of and you might be like kind of new to. So without any more talking, let's go into the top of the iceberg. Nova Gang is a hyperpop music collective that's notable for having some of the most well-known artists in the whole entire genre in their collective. Since its early creation, the members of the Nova Gang collective have changed a lot throughout the years, with some of the artists who have decided to leave the collective have gone on to do really big things, most notably Midwest, David Shoddy, and Youngster Jack. At its peak, Nova Gang was home to some of the most recognizable artists in the entire genre. And although Nova Gang isn't as big as it used to be in early 2020, there's no doubt the impact that they had on the hyperpop scene. They also just had a concert in Texas that unfortunately I couldn't go to. But if you want to go support Nova Gang, definitely go check out their SoundCloud. They're still making music and it's still pretty good. Osquin Quinn or Parker is a member of the Nova Gang collective. She often makes music that fuses kind of like electronic EDM with underground rap influences, as well as the mainstream genre of hyperpop back in 2020. Before the year 2020, her music was exclusive to SoundCloud, but recently it's on Spotify as well. There's not really too much else to say about her. She's super well known in the whole hyperpop scene. Her music is super awesome, and you should definitely go check her out. Black Winter Wells is a Canadian-born hyperpop artist and member of the collective Helix Tears, which includes artists such as 8485 and Blixty, as well as like way too many to name right now, but I'll definitely get into it later. Her sound can best be described as sort of ethereal, as well as mixed up with some really like fast-paced, chopped up vocals and autotune. Her sound can be best described as pretty ethereal, as well as some heavy, obvious hyperpop influences such as high-pitched vocals and autotune, but it's this sound that catapulted her into the spotlight. Not only does Wells produce solo work, but she also produces for other artists, and is very overall just like a respected person in the whole entire hyperpop community. Dollywood One is a rapper, singer, and former member of the hyperpop collective Nova Gang. Dollywood One, I would say, has probably one of the most recognizable voices in the whole hyperpop scene. She's had some really notable songs. On top of my head, the one I can think of the most is Game Over featuring Midwest, which if you go on the Nova Gang YouTube channel, there's a really awesome music video for that. I'd definitely go check it out if I were you. And the song Honestly I Might Just Give Up, which has a really like hard hitting slow kind of bass, but it's definitely a really unique song that's really popular among the hyperpop genre. Glaive, whose real name is Ash Blue Gutierrez, sorry if I pronounced that wrong, is a singer, songwriter, and producer who really started to gain some big traction. I remember this during the COVID-19 pandemic, whenever everyone was stuck inside. Glaive was someone who I remember being someone who got a lot of buzz at the time and was definitely starting to climb the ranks of the hyperpop genre. And it's kind of started to make hyperpop a more mainstream sound with his take on it. It wasn't too experimental. It was a more mainstream, like more poppy, and really cultivated and I guess resonated with the mainstream audience. And he actually ended up signing with Interscope, as well as having a music video with Lyrical Lemonade and Cole Bennett, which was basically something that I don't think anybody expected from a small hyperpop artist. But there is a theory that I'm going to go over later on why he blew up so much, so stay tuned. But yeah, his music is super good, super recognizable. He's had really big success, especially recently with his EP All Dogs Go to Heaven. I know that was a little while ago, but I still consider it kind of recent, and it's definitely something you should go check out. He's also collabed most notably with artist Eric DOA, which I'm literally about to talk about. Eric DOA, real name Eric George Lopez, is a digicore hyperpop singer-songwriter and producer. Like many other artists on this list, Eric DOA began releasing music on SoundCloud. He released some minor singles and EPs here and there, but nothing too big. In the year 2021/2022, he really started to blow up with his music video on the Overcast YouTube channel, which is unfortunately no longer a thing. I think it was mostly like a side project for the two creators of the YouTube channel. But they have some really awesome music videos, and the song 2008, I think, is what really helped him kind of break out of the shell of the underground scene and get into the mainstream. And he also signed with Interscope, so that's pretty cool. His song Fantasize also has over 2 million on YouTube right now, and that's pretty good considering he wasn't too big of an artist a couple of years ago, and now he's one of the most recognizable in the scene. And Midwest isn't actually on here, but I thought he should be, considering Eric DOA and Glaive are on here. So I actually had the pleasure of talking to Midwest back in 2020 when I had my really old podcast. It was called Vincent's Lane, it was called the Vincent's Lane podcast, where I basically interviewed like a bunch of smaller kind of underground artists at the time. And when I interviewed Midwest, he had about 1,000 followers on Instagram and almost like no buzz whatsoever. And I happened to stumble across him because I was a big fan of Nova Gang at the time, and he was one of my favorite artists in the collective, so I decided to interview him. And he's really probably one of the most down-to-earth, coolest, and chill guys I've probably ever met.
You never know, somebody might be having a bad day, and then you might be in a good mood. It never hurts to tell them, hey man, hope you had a good day, because that can brighten up anybody's day.
But it's really awesome to see from just creating songs on SoundCloud to now having features with Yeet, Babytron, and Matt Ox. But yeah, he wasn't on this list originally, but Midwest is a really super cool, awesome artist. Definitely go check him out. And yeah, shout out Midwest if you're watching this. Echo 2K, real name Zach Aero Grandate. Probably pronounced that all wrong. I'm reading off a script right here that I wrote down on the Google Doc, so if you see me looking down at that, I'm just trying to read their names, my bad. Is a British/Swedish singer, model, and member of the Drain Gang Collective. Echo 2K is most known for his experimental take on music, as well as his extremely unique and recognizable vocals. I also had the pleasure of watching Drain Gang live about a year ago. Here's a clip from that. And it was one of the coolest concerts ever. It smelled kind of bad and it was really hot in there, but that's just kind of what I expected from a Drain Gang concert. Shout out Echo 2K. Echo 2K met Blade sometime in the year 2004 and later began to collab with him on albums and some singles. His album E is considered a classic among basically all music genres, not even the hyperpop scene. He also got a lot of buzz with the Drain Gang album, Trash Island. Echo 2K's E, as well as his other singles and albums, cemented him in the scene as one of the most influential artists. Talk, real name Timur Tokdemir. my bad, is a German-born DJ and songwriter. He's known for his work with artists such as Young Lean, Blade, Echo 2K. Some of the genres that he was most known for producing was like trance, EDM, like dance pop, electro pop. And yeah, definitely a good producer. White Armor, his real name is Ludwig Rosenberg, is a Swedish songwriter and producer. And he's also a member of the Drain Gang Collective. He's also most notable for once again being a producer for Blade and Young Lean. And he's also known for producing early cloud rap and ambient songs on SoundCloud. Young Sherman also is on this list on his own, but I thought I'd include him once again. Axel Tuff Vesson, also known as Young Sherman, is a Swedish producer from Stockholm and member of the Sad Boys Collective. In addition to being a member of the Sad Boys, Young Sherman is also a member of Drain Gang and has worked with artists such as Young Lean and Young Good. And that concludes the top of the iceberg. Once again, nothing too crazy. Yeah, like Nova Gang, I don't think a lot of people have heard of them. They're pretty well known, but they're not like super mainstream, like 100 Gex and Charlie XCX. And there was like some Drain Gang here and there, nothing too crazy. But now we're moving on to Shallow Waters. Alright, so it's actually later in the day. I had some stuff to do the entire day, and I wasn't able to record the video in like one take. So also excuse the fireworks outside. It's 4th of July. Lou is a hyperpop rapper, singer, artist, and kind of a producer who goes by other aliases such as Rab and Not Lou. Around late 2019, like early 2020-ish, when the hyperpop scene was really starting to blow up, Lou was one of the fresh faces of the scene. He was so young, and people were so amazed by his his creativity and his skills. And I think his age was like what made him kind of stand out from everyone else, aside from his like really catchy beats and really catchy songs. Also, another quick note: some of these artists do have like different pronouns, and I want to respect as much as possible. So my apologies to anybody if I get the pronouns wrong. Please let me know. DM me, email me, just let me know, just out of respect. But yeah, I have to agree with most people saying that Lou is super talented at their age. I mean, I think they were 15 around the time in 2020, which is super young to be making music, and at that level, I think the production quality was super high. Lou is also a member of the Nova Gang Collective. And I know what a lot of you guys are thinking right now in your heads. Although Lou was super famous, well not famous, but super well known in the whole hyperpop SoundCloud scene for making like pretty good music back then, a lot of you guys are probably thinking about the other situation, which I will cover later on in this video, but I'm not going to go over right now. But if you know, you know. If you don't, then you probably will know later on in this video. So yeah. Tyboy Digital, or his real name, Thanaput Bunaleg, we'll just say Tyboy Digital, is a rapper and singer born in Thailand but moved to Stockholm, Sweden. Tyboy Digital will later join Drain Gang and collab with artists such as Young Lean, Blade, with his features on Blade's Ice Dancer, most notably the song, as well as his placement on the Drain Gang album, Trash Island. It kind of could be argued that Tyboy Digital is like the least popular out of all the members of Drain Gang, but that really doesn't excuse his awesome music and his influence on the whole scene in general, and he's probably one of my personal favorites out of all of them. Young Good, we went over him a little bit earlier, but now we're going to go a little bit deeper into him. Carl Michael Gorin, or Mike, I think that's his name, correct me if I'm wrong once again, is a Swedish DJ and producer, and is well known for being a part of Young Lean's collective, Sad Boys. Another funny story, according to this interview I read, he met Young Lean through mutual friends that were hooking up, which is like pretty funny. And Young Good's sound is pretty ethereal, slightly dark, old school cloud rap influences. Definitely a classic producer. Bloodhounds, similar to Nova Gang, is a collective full of a bunch of pretty well-known hyperpop artists, such as I9 Bonsai, Prod 4am, Psycho, and Pitfall. And Bloodhound's most famous song, you guys have probably heard of it, it's called Red. It's a big collab song. We're actually going over that later, I don't want to talk about it now, but it's a really big collaboration song between a bunch of collectives, so we'll go over that a little bit later. In the same spot, I don't see Helix Tears on this list, so I'm going to include them here as well. It's a collective started by Black Winterwells, and it has a bunch of other artists like Blixty, 8485. They also have a song called Tell Me, which is one of the most beautiful songs I've ever heard in my entire life. Sebi is a Chinese-American producer who was born and raised in China. Sebi's real name, Sebastian De Marino. His sound can be best described, in my opinion, as super poppy and uplifting, really happy, joyful kind of stuff. He often includes like video game references such as Yu-Gi-Oh! Because I read somewhere that he's a big Yu-Gi-Oh! Fan. I was never into Yu-Gi-Oh! I was more like a Pokemon kind of guy. Okay, he also made that one song that starts with a B, ends with an R. So if you know it, you know it. If you don't, then someone will probably tell you in the comments. Rip Squad, originally a solo artist by the name of Rip, later to become a collective full of other producers. In 2018, after artists Lucy and Rip began to collab, they started the collective. This group is known for their work with Blade, Lil Uzi, and even Trippie Redd. DLTZK, now known as Jane Remover, is an American musical artist best known for her studio album Frailty, and she's also credited with pioneering the whole digicore kind of micro-genre on SoundCloud as well. Wikipedia, aka Delta, is a rapper, singer, and producer from Brazil. Delta began creating music at only the age of 16 years old. One of their first inspirations was actually the artist Saturn, and after becoming friends with Saturn, they began to use like some of their presets in order to kind of create their own music. Wikipedia, aka Delta, has collabed also with many artists such as Midwest, Sebi, and Eric DOA. Saturn is an underground artist who's associated with the music collectives Bloodhounds. They were a member of Nova Gang, but I don't think they are anymore. Or sorry, I got it mixed up. They're a member of Nova Gang, but no longer a member of Bloodhound. He's still very active on Instagram and SoundCloud, still releasing music and still posting updates. Definitely go check him out. Uli K is a London-based singer, producer, and part of the collective Bala Club. In 2019, Uli K actually decided to move away from the whole like SoundCloud kind of scene, hyperpop kind of scene, and create their own music of a different kind of genre. I couldn't really find much about like what they do now, but according to everybody, they're not retired, but I couldn't really find too much information, so my apologies. And that's basically the Shallow Waters tier. It really wasn't that bad. Probably you've heard a lot of these artists. Some of these artists you may have never heard of, the producers you may have never heard of, because now we're getting into the point where it's pretty SoundCloud exclusive instead of like really big artists. And some of these producers on here, on the list we just talked about, primarily only stick to SoundCloud, kind of small music, that kind of stuff. But anyways, we have now officially reached almost the halfway mark, and we're gonna move on to the middle of the iceberg. I9 Bonsai, a personal favorite of mine, is a hyperpop / digicore artist from Tokyo, Japan. Correct me if I'm wrong about the birthplace, by the way. I9 Bonsai doesn't release a lot of personal info. I really don't know I don't even know their actual name. I'm just going off of the Genius biography. Considered by many a founding father of it's a hyperpop digicore, but kind of on a different other subgenre with super high-pitched vocals, airy production. And their song Funny Monkey GIF, you probably heard of it off of like some meme or something. It's the one of that monkey dude running around with the elf hat. That kind of catapulted I9 Bonsai into the spotlight because of how viral that song went. But I mean, in my opinion, it kind of sucks that that's the song that went viral, because I9 Bonsai's discography is actually so incredible. Songs like Glow Baby Glow Glow, mixed up with Black Winter Wells and 8485, probably one of the best songs I've ever heard in my entire life. And the album Seedling, if you haven't heard the album Seedling by I9 Bonsai, it's actually one of the most beautiful mixtape / albums I've ever heard. Definitely a must listen. If you're watching this, I9 Bonsai, shout out. I love you so much. Please come to Houston, Texas. 8485 is another pretty well-known artist in the whole hyperpop scene. I actually read in an interview that she doesn't like to discuss personal information, so I'm not gonna really go over that. But her sound is once again like super high-pitched vocals, ethereal beats, and her album Plague Town is also super good, so definitely go check it out. She's also part of the Helix Tears Collective and collaborates often with other artists like Black Winter Wells. Her sound is once again characterized by super high-pitched and auto-tuned vocals, reminiscent of mid-2000s kind of like techno pop music. And in my opinion, it's no wonder why she's one of the most popular artists right now, because her music is super awesome, so definitely go check her out once again. Kuru is a hyperpop artist, part of the Helix Tears at Nova Gang Collective, as well as Gravemind. Kuru actually came once again to Houston, but unfortunately I couldn't go again, so Kuru, please come to Houston once again. And he's been releasing music consistently both on Spotify and SoundCloud. It has a couple music videos on YouTube as well. His music can be characterized as pretty futuristic, once again high-pitched vocals, really like computery, ethereal beats, and he makes super good music, so shout out Kuru. Angelus. I honestly never knew how to pronounce his name. Is Angelus or Angelus? I'm pretty sure it's Angelus. Is a hyperpop artist and producer from Paris, France. They've produced songs for really notable figures such as Parker or Quinn, Eric DOA, Curtains, and even produced for artists like Lil Tecca and Lil Tracy, stepping out of the whole hyperpop scene and moving into the mainstream. Angelus is probably one of the best producers in my opinion, and one of my favorite producers, not even just in hyperpop, but in general. His beats are super awesome, super good, and I don't know if you've seen it, but on SoundCloud, on the SoundCloud YouTube channel, there is a video called like a Digicore, and it has like Midwest and Angelus on there, and it kind of goes into detail about like what their whole genre is about. So definitely go check that out, and shout out Angelus too. Slow Silver 03 is a even smaller collective than Helix Tears and Nova Gang, and it features some notable artists such as Quinn and Zootsie, but many of these artists aren't super popular. I'll put a list up here if you want to go check them all out. But Slow Silver 03, pretty cool collective. Exodus 1900, real name Elijah Blake, correct me if I'm wrong, is an up-and-coming hyperpop and digicore rapper and producer. He often approaches his music with really futuristic digital kind of sounds, mixed in with some really big bass and trap influences, such as 100 Gex, Blade, and others. Pitfall is a hyperpop artist from Canada associated with the collective we just talked about, Slow Silver 03. As of 2021, Pitfall is part of the emo plug collective, Seven Serene, which we'll talk about later, but it has many notable artists you may have heard of. And his most streamed songs have over 1 million on Spotify. Tropes is a hyperpop artist from California. He's part of the collectives Planet Zero and Gravemind. He started releasing music as Tropes in 2020, and honestly I couldn't really find too much information on Tropes, but he seems to be pretty fairly well known in the whole hyperpop SoundCloud community, so definitely go check him out. Dante Red is just an alternate SoundCloud account by artist Eric DOA that he kind of just throws random tracks on, like Bit Crushed and like some extras. So yeah, that's basically it. Braxton Knight's actually been making music for a long time now. He's from Detroit and he's been releasing music on SoundCloud for a pretty good number of years. And his sound is very like reminiscent of the early SoundCloud hyperpop era with pretty simple mixing, but it's definitely still pretty nostalgic listening to his songs. Easily his biggest song, you've probably heard of it already, it's called Paradise Kiss. It has over 11 million on Spotify right now. And he's still very active today, still releasing music on both Spotify and SoundCloud. Love Backpack is a rapper, singer, and producer from Vancouver, Canada. He often makes music that's mixed with like electronic underground rap. He states his influencers are once again artists like 100 Gex and Blade. Also, one thing that came up pretty frequently was his allegations towards being a groomer. Once again, I'm not going to go too deep into those out of respect for people that are watching this video that might be going through some stuff. But if I'm being 100% honest, I didn't really know who he was before making this list, so I can't really speak too much about the whole allegations and stuff. You can definitely go check it out on your own if you want to and make up your conclusions, but as of right now, I'm going to leave it at that. Guido is a Spanish rapper and producer, and he originally started out as solely a producer on SoundCloud, but moved his sound towards the more like hyperpop-esque music genre. His songs Push It and Goblin are probably his most well-known, and he's also collaborated with artists such as Quinn, Curtains, and Eric DOA, and is part of the Slow Silver 03 collective. I'm pretty sure this is referring to a track that I talked about a little bit before, but it's a collaborative track with some of the hottest collectives and artists in the entire hyperpop scene in early 2020. This was such a banger when it first came out, I still remember it. It's a song with collectives Nova Gang, Bloodhound, Slow Silver 03, and Helix Tears, and Midnight Society, and is regarded as a staple track. Lucy, I think we might have mentioned Lucy before, I'm not too sure, but they were actually the original founder of Rip Squad, and is known for their work with Blade, Shinigami, and Braxton Knight. And that concludes the middle of the iceberg, man. We're flying through this right now. I think it's getting easier as we go down, because like whenever we're at the top of the list, they were artists that really had like a lot out there when it came to their personal life, and like a big discography, huge discography about like their music before, music now, how they became mainstream. But when we get deeper into this list, like now, we're getting into stuff that I don't really have to explain that much, kind of like the general basis of it, because some of these artists don't really have a lot out there, like I just said once again, and they're pretty private when it comes to their personal information, and I don't want to dig too deep into that. And also, as we get deeper in, it won't just be artists, it'll be situations, it'll be certain just songs, like I read, it was just a song I had to explain, don't have to really explain much more than that. But let's get into the nearing the bottom of the iceberg tier.
Under pressure, nightmare pack, I'm smoking pressure. I'm a bad getter.
Now this is where things start to get a little bit interesting. Nothing too insane, but definitely not service level by any means. Youngster Jack was on this list, but if you know Youngster Jack, you can't include David Shoddy without him, so I'm gonna include both of them in this list. Not to fanboy about them or anything, but if you like look up here, I don't know if you can see that. I'm gonna zoom in some. I went to their concert once again a little while ago, and they signed my shirt. It was a pretty legendary concert. Thought I'd mention that. I also have, where is it? The David Shoddy button. Okay, enough fanboying. Let's get right into the nearing bottom of the iceberg. So Youngster Jack and David Shoddy, I thought I'd include both of them because it was just Youngster Jack on here, and I kind of felt weird just talking about him and not his partner in crime, David Shoddy. I mean, you got to do both of them. David Shoddy, or David Salazar, and Youngster Jack, or Jack Yuki Engelbrecht, are two hyperpop artists who are credited for being one of the founding fathers of the genre itself, and are seen as some of those most influential artists in all of music. David began making his music during the early plug era of SoundCloud, and his song Honda is probably one of the most iconic plug songs of all time. You probably heard of it. It's definitely his most streamed, his most famous song of all time, and it's instantly recognizable and has that really, really early plug kind of sound. Same with Youngster Jack. He began releasing small mixtapes and small SoundCloud songs around the same time as David Shoddy, but he wasn't nearly as big as David Shoddy at the time. But Youngster Jack's music was more on the cloud rap kind of side, not so much plug. It was more like trap beats and rapping instead of like plug beats. Later on, in about the year 2020, Youngster Jack and David Shoddy collabed to create one of the most legendary hyperpop songs of all time. And if you know anything about hyperpop, you'll probably know about the song called Pressure. Now, I remember this song when it first dropped. I honestly didn't think it'd blow up. I wasn't a huge fan of it because of how different it was. I mean, at this time, you probably never heard. At this time when the song got released, there was nothing like it. This was definitely like a legendary moment in music. They basically created the genre glitchcore. I mean, there was nothing like this on SoundCloud or anything whatsoever, and this song just blew up like crazy. I think now it almost hits at 1 million views on YouTube, which for these two, you guys have to understand, they were not at all big. Like, they had almost no buzz, and this song really catapulted them into the spotlight. After this, they began breaking even more barriers with legendary tracks such as Spawn Camping, Kiss My Own Dick, and Nightmare 3, which are still some of the most legendary songs ever created on SoundCloud. They also released a collaboration tape called Stupid Fruity Swag, which is banger after banger after banger, and if you haven't listened to that, definitely listen to that also. But yeah, that's Youngster Jack and David Shoddy. Sorry for fanboying so much, but you know I had to do it. Zootsie is a rapper and part of the Bloodhounds and Nova Gang collective. He collabed with artists such as Shiloh, Youngster Jack, and Curtains. His sound is very in tune with the modern hyperpop era of the 2020s, like chopped up, glitched up vocals and trap beats. And he was a pretty well-known artist at the time, and still is. He still makes music to this day. He just released a song with Youngster Jack, and he was also part of the Nova Gang Cypher, which I played earlier in this list. And yeah, shout out Zootsie. Also, he collabs a lot with one of my favorite artists, Waze, who we're going to talk about in a little bit. Crackhead's Freestyle. Now, this is a song if I've ever heard one. Basically, the song is a big a big cluster F of different artists and rappers from different collectives on this super spastic, insane, crazy track. I'll play some right now. This song has 15 different verses from 15 different artists, all displaying their own like personal style, and it's a pretty awesome song. The name kind of sums it all up and how it makes you feel when you listen to it. It makes you feel like the title. But yeah, the beat is super awesome. I think it's super funny, super unique, super reminiscent of what this genre is all about. And yeah, definitely go check out every artist who's on the song. There's a list on the Genius page and has the lyrics and a breakdown. So yeah, pretty cool song. Roblox Core XD LOL is the name of another song produced by 4am. This song features, I'm gonna have a list right here. It features Dollywood, Tokopedia, and Jane Remover and Lou. And this song kind of embodies the subgenre that is Roblox Core. And if you don't know Roblox Core, I'll explain it really, really quick. If you don't know what Roblox is, you probably should know what it is if you're on the internet whatsoever. But it's this free PC game that I used to play when I was little. I'm 19 now, and I used to play it when I was, yeah, I got Roblox in 2010, so I got Roblox 12 years ago. So I was pretty young. I still kind of play it here and there now, not as much anymore, but it was a free game where people created like their own other games and servers and stuff like that. And the genre, it's a bit more off the rails than Hyperpop, to say the least. A lot more crazy. It includes even more high-pitched vocals, even faster beats, even more unorthodox production, and it's basically just a lot more crazy than Hyperpop. But this song is really, really fun, crazy, kind of embodies Roblox Core in a song. So yeah, pretty cool song. Oaf1 is guilty. This is referring to an allegation towards the artist Oaf1, who was accused of grooming a underage girl when she was only 17 years old. Once again, and for future references, I'm not going to go too deep into these kind of situations, just out of respect for the viewers of this video who might be going through something. I don't think he was ever charged with anything, but this is saying that he was guilty. And I'm not gonna say my opinion because I haven't really looked too much into it. There are actual DM screenshots on Reddit if you want to go look at those after you watch this video. But yeah, that's basically this whole situation right now. Waze, one of my personal favorite SoundCloud artists. I've also had the pleasure of talking to Waze on my podcast. Around the same time I interviewed Midwest, but Waze also super dope artist, a really, really cool dude.
Like Love Is Your Age 2, like everything before that, like that shit was immaculate, bro. I was like, yeah.
He makes some of my favorite Hyperpop music and early SoundCloud music that I can think of. The song Chips comes to mind. It's probably one of the biggest bangers of all time. It's super good, super really cool beat. He's also part of the Nova Gang Collective, one of the OG members who's still in there. And funny story of how I came across Waze. So the song Off White, I think this was about in 2018. I was listening to SoundCloud, like a random mix of songs on SoundCloud, and the song Off White, this is whenever Waze was still called Lil Waze actually. The song Off White came on my playlist, and I had that song on repeat. This was like freshman year of high school. I had the song repeat all summer, so I have a lot of good memories with that song. And it randomly got deleted off of Spotify, or randomly got deleted off of SoundCloud, so I spent the next couple of years trying to look for it. I even DM'd Waze just to find out where the song was, and it ended up getting deleted, and so I ended up finding it on this random archive Spotify page, or random Spotify SoundCloud page, which I'm going to talk about later. Sorry I'm ranting about the story, but it means a lot to me. But yeah, I randomly found that song on a random archive page. Also, the song Sanctuary, I'll play it right now. One of the best remixes of any song I've ever heard of. I think Waze is super talented. And on the podcast, we talked about just like normal stuff, and he's a really, really cool dude. So shout out Waze if you're watching this. Jonathan Leander 96. This is a side project of Swedish cloud rapper Young Lean, who we talked about a little bit earlier, which showcases some of Young Lean's more personal ideas. That's basically it. Bloody Shield is an artist and producer who produced many of his own music as well as other artists such as Baymac, and is part of the Tough Love collective. I don't really know about much of like his personal details. Once again, there's not much of it, but he seems to be a pretty well-respected producer, and Tough Love is a really cool collective. Shout out Tough Love and shout out Baymac. I actually went to a Tough Love concert as well. It was the same one as David Shoddy. Here's another clip from that. It was kind of crazy. One Sleep 2-3. This is basically a throwaway channel for the Sad Boy / Drain Gang, with some random songs on it. But one thing that nobody can seem to figure out is who runs the channel. Some people speculate it's Blade, some people speculate it's Tyboy Digital, but it's kind of mysterious. Once again, One Sleep 2-3, pretty mysterious. Dreamake, originally from California, and he gained traction from working with artists such as Keyblade and Capso. He first began releasing music in 2019. Nowadays, he frequently works with artists Kiri or Kirimu and Beanie Jane. Shout out Dreamake. Supernova Society. I've honestly never heard of them before making this list. They're apparently a small record label / music collective with a bunch of underground artists such as Virgin God, Sora 9K. They're not super big and they don't really have a lot of buzz, so if you want to go check them out, definitely go do so. Supernova Society. For watching, shout out Supernova Society. Mirai is a recording artist, entertainer, and mechanical keyboard enthusiast. This is according to their Genius profile. They began releasing music in 2016 in high school. Is my camera focusing or not? Why is it like not focusing on me or not? Ugh. I'm gonna read this straight off of his Genius profile. He met his friends in high school and formed Weeb Squad. He also formed the anti-lolly social club named Lollicops. Like Lollipop. His style of music often varies from one to another, initially making electronic dance music to making meme rap, and as of November 2020, he started songwriting for his hyperpop tracks as Restart and Fadeless End. Shout out Mary Lovebug. According to his website, he's from Houston, but Lovebug is a producer I can't really find much about, honestly, but he does have a lot of songs that I do find on Spotify, but his beats are super futuristic sounding, and they're pretty intriguing to listen to, quite honestly, especially the song called I'm Home. He only has 4,000 followers, so I'm guessing he only exclusively makes beats and not really much solo work, which is why he doesn't have such a huge following, but his beats are super awesome, so shout out Lovebug. Z's, not really sure why Z's on this list. I guess the music that he listens to, like kind of rave music, kind of fits on this list, because if you guys don't know who Z's is, he was a bodybuilder who unfortunately passed away at a young age. As someone who goes to the gym a lot and is like really big into the gym culture, Z's has had a huge impact on not only like me and a bunch of other people that I know, but like the whole entire gym community. And he kind of like started a whole generation of this work hard and party harder kind of mentality. I'm not really sure how this fits into the list. One other thing I found randomly was the song Z's by an artist called Meat Computer, which is techno pop, which I guess kind of fits in this list. So whichever one you think fits, that's completely up to you. Roxas358. He's an artist who takes heavy inspiration from Kingdom Hearts, having a song released in 2020 by the name of Sanctuary, with the sound reminiscent of the early Plug era and the SoundCloud's early Hyperpop era. Another quick note as we go deeper down to the list. These artists are going to keep getting more smaller and smaller and a lot less recognizable, and I know I've said this a million times, but I really can't find a lot of personal information on them, so their biographies will be a little bit short in this video, but I'll definitely do my best to try to find as much as I can and relay as much information as I know to you guys. Kid Trash is a producer and artist from the UK. Their most notable song being the song Exotic, which is pretty recognizable off the beat alone. Like I didn't think I knew the song, but I heard the beat when I played it on Spotify, and I was like, oh, I know the song. Their sound is pretty in tune with what you expect when word hyperpop comes to mind. Really heavy bass, high-pitched auto-tune, and crazy production. But yeah, Kid Trash. Shout out Kid Trash. Your music is not trash, it's actually pretty good. My Magic is Strong is an early Blade song when he was still in the Gravity Boys Collective, or when it was still a thing. This song is super trippy, but kind of oddly good at the same time. Like, it sounds like if you went into Ableton and used a phaser preset and just spammed it over and over again, so the vocals just overlapped. I'll play some right now. If you haven't heard the song in its entirety, it's kind of hard to explain the kind of feeling it gives you, so I would definitely recommend listening to it. But yeah, My Magic is Strong is a good song. Kyrano, a vocalist and part of the Ivy League and Seven Serene collective. He's collabed with many artists such as the aforementioned Lovebug. The song 2018 is really freaking good. It's a super bit crushed and like really heavy beat, but in a way it's pretty calming at the same time. He's also had producer collabs such as with Mental and Ways, alongside artists such as Casper Gem and Pitfall. So Kyrano, definitely go check him out. Some of the best beats I've ever heard. Ivy League is once again another SoundCloud music collective, full of many artists such as Kyrano, who I just talked about, Out by 16, Shinjin, just to name a few. There's they say they're heavily influenced by Rip Squad. The Ivy League roster consists of about 12 artists, so definitely go check out their SoundCloud and go check out all the artists that are in the collective. 1 year as an artist from Minnesota and part of the Seven Serene collective. His music is influenced by the really early plug era, with simple beats and catchy verses, but also borrows some hyperpop influence. His singing is also pretty good. Shout out 1 year. Red Priest, I couldn't find any biographies about him, but he's a producer, and he's most notable for producing for artists such as Midwest and Pitfall. The song Reaction is actually super good. Definitely go listen to it right now. Shout out Red Priest. I didn't know you before this video originally, but I'm definitely glad I found your music. That's another thing about this list. There's a lot of artists on here that I literally had no clue who they are, and now that I'm like more, now as we go deeper down and we get into the more unknown artists, their music is actually super underrated. I'm kind of upset that a lot of them don't have much more attention that they need, but hopefully this video, if it does do good, then it'll give them the attention that they need. Mental. Pretty well-known artists, actually. I don't know, I'm surprised they're so far deep down here. With their most popular song being What If You're Right on Spotify. Been releasing SoundCloud music for a while now. Often collabs with other artists of Blixty, who we're going to talk about in just a little bit. Their most recent collab tape, Light Music Club, which actually, hold on 1 second, actually bought on CD a little bit ago. Oh, here we go. If I'm being 100% honest, it's probably one of my favorite Hyperpop albums of all time, and albums in general. It's super good, super catchy. The production is like actually insane, and it's definitely something that I definitely recommend you all listen to right now. Light Music Club, super good. Blixty is another artist who I'm a really huge fan of once again, and they're part of the Helix Tears collective. Their most popular songs being Trying / Crying for Help, which is, I wouldn't call it emotional, but it definitely hits some sort of like heart nerve. It definitely hits some sort of like nerve in the heart where it makes you like sad and makes you like, it's one of those songs where you lay down in a dark room and stare at the ceiling for a while and think about your life. Like I mentioned before, Blixty often collabs with other artists like Mental, and they just released their mixtape / album Light Music Club once again. So shout out Mental and Blixty. 70 EVA is an Australian producer and was the original founder of Rip Squad. Like I mentioned a little bit earlier, Rip Squad was originally just an artist name, that being 70 EVA underneath the alias Rip, and was originally a solo artist and then later became the collective Rip Squad. Alright, so that concludes the nearing the bottom of the iceberg tier. That was probably one of my favorite tiers so far. I've reached into some stuff that I wasn't really too familiar with, but some stuff that I was really familiar with, so it was good contrast. But now we're going into the bottom of the iceberg. Alright, congratulations to whoever's still watching. We have officially reached the bottom of the Hyperpop iceberg. This is where things are going to get a little bit strange. Some things on this tier I could be either completely wrong about, either overthinking stuff, or digging too deep in stuff I probably shouldn't be digging too deep into. It could honestly go either way in this tier, but anyways, let's get right into it. Deleted Nova Gang songs. I kind of covered this earlier about the whole Ways deleted song situation, but I think this is referring to many songs, not even on Nova Gang, but in SoundCloud, but on SoundCloud in general, of how easy it is and how easily songs go missing. Like I remember there was a time when there was like a big purge of music on SoundCloud. I don't know if you guys remember it. It was like early 2020 when a bunch of random songs just got deleted out of nowhere. by some weird like copyright scandal thingy. I have no idea. But I think it just refers to like the lost media songs that also come along in SoundCloud. Because there's so many archive pages for so many different artists on SoundCloud that are like Novagang archive of songs that have been deleted for who knows what reason. So I think it just refers to songs that get deleted and never end up being found, or super hard to find for that reason. I myself have looked for 2 songs that I've gone missing off of the Novagang SoundCloud, which is actually pretty ironic. And I re-uploaded them. One of the songs was a Way song produced by Vinso, who we'll talk about later. And it's on my personal SoundCloud. I'll play a little bit of it right now. And I literally went into the Novagang Discord when it was like still a thing, and I asked for the song back, and someone sent it to me, so it was kind of funny. Kind of embarrassing, but kind of funny. So that's the Novagang deleted songs tier, or the Novagang deleted songs thing. Oaf 1 was Innocent. This is going back to the last tier of Oaf 1 being accused of grooming a 17-year-old girl. And once again, I'm not going to go too deep into that, but this one is referring to the people that think he's innocent. Once again, I'm not going to go too deep into that situation out of respect, but some people think he's innocent still, and some people don't. So this is a little bit lower on the tier because it's a little bit more of a situation that is a little bit uncomfortable to talk about. Eric DOA Fan 39. Now this is one that was honestly kind of weird to search for. Once again, I probably should have asked the creator of this Iceberg to get more details, but I thought it'd be more fun if I could just look on my own. But this was something that I found a couple things on. When I tried to do my research on this, I found like 3 things that really stood out. An Instagram Live where Eric DOA was getting quote-unquote disrespected by a fan who received a late feature, which I know this isn't about, but it's honestly still pretty funny. Another thing is a clicking game called OSU, which I'm sure you guys are pretty familiar with. It's just like a rhythm-based clicking game, but there were some tags on a certain user that just said Eric DOA Fan 39, Eric DOA Fan 39. Nothing too weird, but this is where things get a little bit creepy. So when you go on Google, I don't know if you want to do this or not. I tried and then I just kind of stopped doing it. You search up Eric DOA Fan 39 on Google, and there's these really creepy and weird websites that won't let me access them through my Google browser. It says it's like not safe or whatever. My browser's not allowing me to do it. And then if you look in the description of these websites, it says things like woman seeking men, and then weird numbers, and then there's highlighted areas on the search bar that literally says Eric DOA Fan 39 and the number 39 over and over again. So I don't know if this is something that I'm really looking too deep into or something that I probably shouldn't have seen, but Eric DOA Fan 39, you guys can look on your own for that one. Red Racker is just a song by Wikipedia. I'm not really sure why it's so low on this list, but it's still a pretty good song, I guess. Saturn Danger. Now this is what I was talking about when there's a lot of songs that go missing on SoundCloud. When I was doing my research on the song, I literally just looked up Saturn Danger on SoundCloud, and it was like 4 archive pages that were like rare. The song Danger by Saturn, rare archive. So this is one of the songs that I guess got lost in the whole deletion like fiasco of songs getting deleted off of SoundCloud. But it's a pretty good song. Kind of cool that the song apparently is pretty rare, but there's like a bunch of archive pages of just this song. So Danger by Saturn, lost media song found. Kevin Hilfiger, probably another personal favorite artist of mine. He's a member of the collective Goon City and is known for his song Waste My Time, and his collab song with Quinn/Parker, #Goonshit, which is such a freaking banger. Hey. My door just opened on its own. Kind of scary. Yeah. I don't know what just happened. My door just opened on its own randomly. Kind of spooky. But yeah, Kevin Hilfiger is a super cool artist, and #Goonshit, one of my favorite Hyperpop songs of all time. One of the best beats I've ever heard, and yeah, shout out Kevin Hilfiger. Lil Eli, I couldn't figure out what this was referring to. I think it's referring to the Lil Eli Sanrio Boy. It's an Alice Gas Young Bapsta edit. It's on SoundCloud. Or this is referring to the artist Lil Eli. He's known for his viral hit called Walter with over 1 million streams on SoundCloud. Either one works for me. Alright, so my camera literally shut off. I have to go over like 2 of these things again. Alright, Kite is an artist off of the Great Mind Collective and has collabed with artists such as Quinn Parker and Tropes, and his most popular song being called Change Myself. Couldn't find anything personal on this dude, so shout out Kite. Vinso, a personal favorite of mine, and his artist bio on Genius is super hilarious, so let me just read it right now. Best producer out there. Just listen to some of his beats and tell me I'm wrong. In all honesty, I really can't disagree with that. His beats are super awesome. He's one of my favorite producers of all time. Most notably producing for artist Joey, Dollywood 1, and he also produced the entire mixtape called Free Run by Youngster Jack, which is one of my favorite mixtapes of all time. If you really want to hear his production skills, definitely go listen to Free Run. It's a really, really cool mixtape. It's like 6 tracks long, and it's definitely an experience. So, shout out Vinso. I don't know why he's so far down on this list. He's pretty well known. Listen to Free Run. 4am, another really, really popular producer who I'm surprised is this far down on the list. He first started to gain traction while he was in the Bloodhounds Collective, and he kind of helped shape the whole early hyperpop scene in 2020, and kind of helped the whole scene and genre mold into its sound that it's really known for today. His notable songs that he produced are Drama by Quinn. He produced the song Red, which we talked about a little bit earlier, a legendary collaboration song with a bunch of collectives. He produced that. And the song Shirt by Joey. He also has many other production credits, such as for Ski Mask the Slum God on the song He Diddy, which is honestly kind of crazy because I don't know why he's so far on this list, but 4am, legendary producer, shout out 4am. So this part, when I talk about the artist Slappy, it actually corrupted on my camera, I don't know what happened, but Slappy is a part of the Nova Gang Collective, pretty well known. Shout out Slappy, sorry your thing got corrupted. Ketamine. Former plug R&B artist who was at some point affiliated with the collective Bloodhounds and Ivy League. They unfortunately no longer make music. They still have Spotify, you can listen to their old stuff on there, but as of today, I think they're done making music. I'm not sure about the explanation about that, but according to them and just their discography in general, they stopped making music. Macne. Although Macne has no posts on Instagram, they are /were producer who produce for artists such as Joey, Waze, and Senses. I don't think they're producing anymore, to be honest. Their most recent song was 2 years ago, but they reposted a song about 20 days ago. So if I'm wrong, correct me in the comments. But Macne seemed to be a pretty cool producer. I don't know why they're not really making music anymore. Reasons I don't want to go too deep into, or that I don't want to discuss due to privacy, but shout out Macne. Two Worth is an artist that started emerging in late 2019, making glitchcore and hyperpop music on SoundCloud. They seem to be affiliated with Nova Gang, but I'm not really too sure if they are or not. And they've collaborated with artists such as Youngster Jack, David Shoddy, and Dollywood, as well as Glaive. Their 2 albums, Skeleton Boy, and their self-titled album Two Worth, were deleted off of Spotify, which is ironic because we just talked about the whole deleting purge Spotify thing on SoundCloud, or I keep saying Spotify on SoundCloud. And according to a now deleted archive channel of Two Worth Music, it's because they wish to move on from being Two Worth and proceed with a new alias called Zool. And they apparently hate their old music, according to them, apparently. If I'm wrong, let me know once again. But kind of an interesting story, Two Worth. Dirtbag is a member of the SoundCloud electronic scene and genre, and is an active member of the groups Ivy League, Eldia, and Curiosity. As of August 30th, 2021, Dirtbag releases new music under their new alias, Simply Funk. Definitely go check out their new stuff too. I'm not sure why they changed it, but that's just some personal reason that I probably don't really know anything about. Kerr. I couldn't find anything about Kerr. I think this is just referring to Kyrianos, another SoundCloud account for posting beats and stuff. But that's basically all I could find. Karasu. Pretty sure this is referring to a French hyperpop artist. That's all I could find on SoundCloud, and every other artist under the same name almost had no followers or no following whatsoever. So I think this is what it's referring to. 2504. Real name Nguyen Lang Tung, according to their Genius profile, is a Vietnamese SoundCloud artist and member of the Goon City Collective. His sound is characterized more on the glitchier side of hyperpop, to say the least. And his high-pitched singing vocals are also included in there. And his beats are usually pretty peaceful also. They just released an EP on SoundCloud. It's honestly pretty good. Listened to the whole thing a couple days ago while making this list. Yeah, shout out 2504. Now Lee is a pretty intriguing person that I've honestly never heard of before making this list, but while making this list, the music kind of like captivated me and pulled me in. His beats don't sound very traditional when it comes to hyperpop. They're more of a mix of dance and EDM, as well as some hints of digicore throughout, which makes it sound really unique, honestly. Most notably on the song Oasis. If you're watching this, Lee, shout out you. Your music is, or your production and the music is super dope. Shinju is a German-born producer whose sound is very similar to Drain Gang and Sad Boys, with really slow and distorted beats and really heavy bass and lots of reverb. Their song Eternal Affection, I think it's called, was actually pretty good when I was researching him. So yeah, shout out Shinju. Brazil. This could be referring to some things, but I think it's just referring to Brazil's love of hyperpop, because artists I've talked about earlier up in this list are from Brazil, and apparently Brazil is pretty big in hyperpop, so I think that's just what this is talking about. Koenig is a songwriter and producer from Florida. They joined Dead Air Collective.
Yeah, that's basically all I could find, my bad.
Winter. Their real name is Jamie, I think, off of their Instagram. Correct me if I'm wrong once again. But they're mostly a producer that makes music primarily on SoundCloud, with most of their beats being just on there, not on Spotify. Can't really find much else on them, once again. Not really a lot of personal information. But their beats are pretty good. Definitely go check out their SoundCloud. Okay, FML. This is pretty vague, but FML, the closest thing I could find somewhere related to this list was an artist by the name of TJ Weaver, which fits the sound pretty good. Same thing with Space. Honestly, it's too vague for me to really figure out what's going on. If I'm wrong, please correct me, but that's kind of all I have. And that concludes the bottom of the iceberg. Now that was a pretty fun tier to go over, honestly. A lot of the people there, I had no idea who they were before, but now that I do know who they are, the music is super good and it's been added to my playlist. But now, we're going below the iceberg.
Satisfied. My bitch is bad and they look like women. Thought I fucked with them, he fucked in the head. Sorry, not sorry, bitch, look what you said.
Now this is where things really start to take a turn. A lot of things on here are mostly just artists who are not that well known, so it might seem a bit repetitive at times, but now we're going to also step foot into some conspiracy theories and pretty dark events that happened. So if you're kind of like sensitive to those kind of subjects, I'd recommend skipping to the next tier or the end of the video, because the next tier isn't any better. Without any further ado, let's go to the below iceberg tier. Lou racism. Now, you've probably all heard about the situation about Lou. It was a pretty big deal when it happened back in 2020. I'm not going to go too deep into it, but I'm definitely going to give like a quick synopsis of the whole situation and my opinion on it. So if you guys don't know, in the year 2020, many videos and screenshots of Lou openly saying the N-word on Omegle, making fun of people's dead parents through DMs, as well as stating remarks that were blatant homophobia, transphobia, and racism. And he even made a song about it, which I won't play. You can find it on YouTube if you want. I don't want to like promote any of the stuff that he did back then. And a big talking point of this whole controversy when it happened was his age. Lou was only 15 when these things were said, and I'm in no way validating it, but 15 is a pretty young age to be accusing somebody of a lot of wrongdoings. Don't get me wrong, he should definitely be held accountable for what he said, but in the year 2023, like for example, in the year 2020, I think I was around like 16, 17, and I thought it was kind of funny when it happened, but now that I'm almost 20 years old, looking back, it was pretty immature. And I know I've said things, and we've all said things when we were like 14, 15 years old that were pretty stupid. And it seems that people still hold Lou accountable for that, which, you know, I completely respect, to each their own. But in my opinion, I still hold some sense of, like, he was still pretty young, but at the same time, those things were pretty bad that he said. But now it seems that he's kind of put that behind him, that Lou's kind of put that behind him, behind them. Once again, I'm not gonna go like too deep into this. I just want to do a quick synopsis over it. But there are definitely people who refuse to listen to Lou even now, but Lou seems to have an even bigger fan base than he did before this whole situation happened, which is pretty cool to see. I think Lou's kind of branched out and matured a lot, even in their music, compared to the songs they're making in 2020 to the songs that they're making now. It's definitely shows a lot of maturity. So this whole situation was a really big deal when it happened. Now I think it's time to put it, behind Lou. Connie Excalibur, better known by their stage name Death Connie. They're an American hyperpop and alternative artist. His sound is heavily saturated with 808s, with extremely obscure and experimental vocals. Connie is currently part of the Gravemind and Goon City Collective. I'm not sure if they still are. Young Dick. Rapper Young Dick, the self-proclaimed greatest rapper alive. Quote, he's the son of singer Little Richard and is destined to F the game up. He also says his name fits him because, quote unquote, Young Dick stay hard, stay erect like a penis. No one can deny that Young Dick ain't hard. Which I have to admit is pretty clever, pretty funny. His most viewed song on YouTube is Swag You with only 16,000 views. And it's definitely a song. Shout out Young Dick. Yeah. Blade Freemason theory. Now this is a theory from an image on Reddit by the user DG_Stako55. They posted this image showing potential evidence of Blade being a quote-unquote Freemason. I know this is kind of like a satire, but it's still pretty funny. And you really can't tell me that the 3-3 is kind of a coincidence. But yeah, it's kind of a stupid theory. I know it's just made for laughs, but it's still pretty funny. Drain Gang CS:GO usernames. Not exactly sure what this is referring to, but in 2020, White Armor made a tweet saying, "Add me on CS:GO at 69 psychos." So maybe this is referring to people trying to find out what the other members of Drain Gang's usernames are. And also, this isn't at all what this is talking about, but there's this guy on Reddit who had the username Blade on Valorant, and he played against somebody else who also had the name Blade on Valorant, which is pretty funny. Gross Beat Declick preset. I think this is just making fun of the Gross Beat preset on FL Studios because so many producers abuse it and spam it just to make random beats. It's kind of a meme how much it's used nowadays, especially in trap music. Not so much in hyperpop, but in trap music especially. If you go to the Genius Deconstructed videos, half of the producers just click a gross beat on some random loop and then put a 808 over it. Sammy33, I'm honestly surprised this is even on a list because Sammy33 was someone who I listened to back in the day in 2020. I know it was like 3 years ago, but 3 years ago is still a pretty long time in my terms. But Sammy33 was an artist who I found by pure luck. There's a song called Total Drama, which is still pretty good to this day. It's very reminiscent of the early hyperpop stages where it was basically just a random beat and then glitched vocals, which was pretty intriguing at the time. But this was also in the Roblox core era, where it was kind of starting to pop off. But Sammy33, I don't think he makes music anymore. He was a teenage artist at the time, I'm pretty sure. I think he was probably around my age, like 16, 17 years old. But his music was pretty good. I don't think he releases music anymore. I know he's still active on Instagram somewhat, but he doesn't really have that much of a following. So shout out Sammy33 if you're watching. Future Rainworld hoodie. Now this is referring to Future wearing the Rainworld hoodie in his music video, Mad Love. And this is kind of funny. It's kind of breaking like the fourth wall because Rainworld is a compilation EP by Blade. And along with the EP came this legendary hoodie. And out of all the people that would wear this, Future is not someone that people were really expecting to wear this. Either way, it's pretty funny to see. People have been speculating that Future is actually a drainer in disguise, or he might just like the hoodie design. Either or is fine by me. But yeah, it's still pretty funny. Ugly Goth Posse. The only thing I can find is a SoundCloud page with the username UGP, which I'm assuming means Ugly Goth Posse. Instagram is no longer active, which is kind of weird. And a couple of songs are still up, and they seem to sound pretty run-of-the-mill hyperpop. Not really sure whether Instagram is no longer up, but shout out Ugly Goth Posse. Slow Silver 03 House. Not really sure what this one's going towards once again. The only thing I could find was a tweet by Glaive in 2020 that literally just says Slow Silver House. Maybe the members of Slow Silver 03 were thinking of moving into a house together, or maybe they moved in together and didn't work out. Some drama, I don't know. But yeah, Slow Silver 03 house. Keshi, I don't know why Keshi's on here. He's a really, really popular artist. I don't know why they're on here. Lowly God. Zachary Dylan Numeric Payne, I think that's his name, correct me if I'm wrong once again, is known professionally as Lowly God. He's a New Zealand-based recording artist, singer-songwriter, and digital visual artist. He's known for his elements of hyperpop and emo rap and alternative R&B. He's collaborated with several notable artists, such as Will Rosie, 8485, Braxton Knight, and Poppy Tears. Delta is just an alternate alias for Wikipedia, and Tyler their secondary account for like more personal music and like scrap music and extras and stuff. Verbo is an artist who I've kind of heard of here and there. He's collabed with artists such as Pitfall. Can't find too much about him, but I know he's like one of the OGs of the whole hyperpop era. But unfortunately, I don't think he blew up as much as some of the other artists did. So shout out Verbo. Shishi, another pretty mysterious / anonymous SoundCloud producer. They only have 2 tracks uploaded on their SoundCloud, and they're just instrumental. So my prediction or my guess is that they were a producer who never really like followed through with the whole music thing and didn't really work out for them, unfortunately. Their most recent song was over a year ago, so yeah. Hampy, another SoundCloud artist who, funnily enough, has a song produced by Shishi. He's still very active on his Instagram and his music as well. Not too much info on him, but yeah, it's pretty cool that they're kind of somewhat like linked together. Virgin God, I don't know why he's so low on this list. He's a pretty well-known artist from Brazil, which is pretty funny because, you know, Brazil, haha. He's had songs with Wikipedia and other artists and stuff like that. Zero Status, another SoundCloud producer who also makes free beats on YouTube, like free type beats. Her Instagram is also, for some reason, no longer active. I don't know why this keeps happening to other artists, but Jamie, pretty sure this is referring to a person on SoundCloud. Their Instagram also no longer exists. That's like 3 in a row. Vile. Vile is a SoundCloud producer who's still pretty active on their Instagram even today. They have many producer credits with songs such as artists such as Black Winterwells, Shinjin, and Akachi. Can't find any personal info on them, but their beats are super good. Six Snot. This is their genius bio. Wikipedia is a femboy. I don't really know what is on here. People in the comments of the original post on Reddit also seem a little bit confused on what this means. There's no evidence to back this up. Pretty sure. Same with Pitfall Dental Edit. I'm not sure what that's about. David Shoddy gay. Now this is referring to like a speculation that David Shoddy's might possibly be gay due to his kiss with Savage Gasp at the end of the Nightmare Dance music video, or his close friendship with the Answer Jack. But honestly, it makes no difference to me or probably anybody at all. I'm pretty sure this was more of like a joke than anything, instead of anything serious. But something that I do feel needs to be addressed, which I do remember happening, is the David Shoddy Instagram Live, 9/8/2020. Now, I remember whenever this happened, and it kind of shocked me a little bit, made me sad that we could have possibly lost one of the best artists of the hyperpop scene. So this Instagram Live was recorded at the hospital after David Shoddy tried to OD and commit suicide on Xanax. Thankfully, it didn't end up working, but he was still admitted to the hospital overnight. In this live, you can hear his shaky voice as he explains the whole situation.
And now I'm just gonna be stuck here. I tried my best to die and it didn't work. I tried the OD on. Yeah, I tried the OD on Xanax.
Also, guys, please don't do any illegal substances. I know, especially in parts of hyperpop, it's extremely glorified and it's seen as cool and normal, but in reality, it's quite the opposite. Illegal substances in the music industry unfortunately take way too many lives every year. So if you're watching this right now, please stay away. Okay, and that concludes Below the Iceberg. That was a little bit more deep. We got into some pretty deep stuff, pretty dark stuff. Some things guys have probably never heard of before. Some things I definitely never heard of before, and some situations that are definitely a little bit dark, to say the least. But now we're going into the abyss.
Deal with it, race a sharp face and I'm fucking kill with it. Like, get it? You lame dude, forget it. I get it, I'm pimpin' living life, large, good, extra nice at the ocean.
Once again, congratulations to whoever's still watching this video. Now we're getting into some really deep stuff, and some things in this tier honestly make no sense to me even still. While some could either be lost media, conspiracy theories, or really specific instances, even where I explain them and you still don't get them, which is perfectly fine. Without any further ado, let's do it. The last tier of the iceberg. Midwest t-shirt scam. A user on Reddit with the username Tuna68 posted an image of 2 Midwest t-shirts with a caption. Fun fact, pretty much scammed him since he refunded the shirt I bought in a small, but that still arrived too, LMAO. He also adds 2 more images and another caption. This one saying, I'm a complete idiot. I bought this shirt way too fast and ordered it in a small. Thank God Midwest is literally the nicest person in the world. And showing DMs between the two, asking Midwest to cancel an order for the shirt and add a new one. Also, I'm pretty sure the creator of this iceberg was the one who posted this, because in the actual description of the iceberg he says it was him that got 2 shirts, so I'm not really sure about that one. And Midwest actually commented on this post saying, I let him scam me with an eye rolling emoji. Now this is probably just a mishap at the place where the shirts were being made and shipped. He probably got an extra shirt on accident because the order probably didn't go through, whatever. But it's definitely still pretty funny. Even Midwest commented on it, so that's a pretty funny thing. Glaive is an industry plant. This theory, from what I could find, is that, and it basically states that Glaive is an industry plant. If you know what an industry plant is, it's someone who's pretty much set up for success in the music industry through like mutual connections, or if they have like a lot of money, they can just pay people to like do stuff for them and whatever. Basically, people who are set up to success in the music industry without really any skill or talent. One person that I've constantly heard as an industry plant is Don Tolliver. He got signed to Cactus Jack Records super quick, got a feature on Astroworld without like any prior buzz, and he randomly like blew up out of nowhere. But people think that Glaive, because he blew up out of nowhere and he got signed to Interscope and had producers producing for him at a really, really early point in his career, that he's an industry plant, which I can't completely disagree with. He did have really, really good production in his music early on, which really doesn't mean anything. Him being an industry plant, I think it just means he has really, really good production early. But he did get signed to a record label fairly quickly and did get a music video with Lyrical Lemonade really, really quickly also. Like less than 2 years from his initial like blow up. But it's definitely something to think about. Blade is young Sherman. Now this is a theory that I've heard no one talk about whatsoever, but this theory is probably another joke, but I'm still going to go over it anyway. It basically says that young Sherman is not a real person, and that Blade is making 2 careers pretending to be young Sherman. Now there's no evidence behind this. I mean, young Sherman's literally a real person, but one thing that I kind of thought about was, I mean, young Sherman's a producer, right? And Blade's an artist, so it would be a lot easier to fake being a producer. Angel producer type backstory I literally could not find anything about. Same thing with Keshi Bricked Up Freestyle featuring Floofy and 5AQ Angel. They could possibly be Lost Media. Lost Media people watching this, please help me out. I have no idea what these mean. DYE. Juan de Gilbuan, sorry if I pronounced that. Better known by his stage name DYE. I'm pretty sure you guys have heard of DYE. He's a French musician and most known for his single Fantasy on his first album Taki 183. If you grew up with unsupervised internet in the mid 2010s and you were still a kid, you have every idea of what I'm about to say next, and you know exactly where this is going. So the music video of DYE's song called Fantasy follows 4 teenagers as they go into this pool while it's closed, and they take part in naughty activities together, which moves on to 2 of the friends being transformed into alien-like monsters, which then proceeds to eat the 3rd friend, and the last surviving friend then jumps into the pool, which then teleports her to an alternate dimension where her eyeballs explode out of her head. This music video is said to have traumatized an entire generation, me being included, because I remember watching this video when I was like 8 years old and crying. It's a core memory for me. And there's a video online that explains it. I'll show it right here. Definitely go check it out. On the surface level, this just seems to be some edgy, like anime, H-word, fantasy kind of thing, but there's also a video that goes into detail. I think it's the one I just talked about of what it actually means, and I think it's a really, really good message actually. It portrays the loss of innocence, which is pretty ironic. If you actually watch the video and think about the message of the loss of innocence, it makes sense. I mean, these 4 friends are having fun, and then they go into the pool and they start doing these like things. They're drinking beers and stuff, and then they're doing these naughty things with each other, and that basically cements a loss of innocence, and they turn into these quote-unquote monsters, which is pretty, I mean, It's pretty genius, honestly, if you think about it. Definitely a weird way to put it in the video, but it is art, and I do think it's a very, really like a deep piece of art, which I think is good. I think, and I could be wrong about the whole entire thing, and this is not at all what it's referring to, but the song is honestly still pretty good. It's more like it's like a chill EDM kind of vibe song. Yeah, definitely go check it out if you haven't watched it already. I mean, I might as well recommend it because I basically just explained the whole thing. But definitely go check it out if you haven't already. If you're probably of age, hopefully, if you're watching this, I don't know. Malcolm Sex. This refers to a 2011 track called Tony Hawk by Blade and Echo 2K, with their alter egos being Ken Burns as Blade and Malcolm Sex being Echo 2K. Why they decided to make the song, I have no clue. And give themselves these random names, I have no clue as well. But it's still a pretty funny song, and it's kind of cool to see them have like fun. And this is also a pretty old song in 2011, and it's kind of funny to see them just kind of goof around. On My Nuts. Not really sure what this is referring to, but I'm pretty sure it's referring to a song by the artist Lil Boudang, which I am, once again, a big fan of. His song, Jesus Don't Like That I'm Gay, but Satan Does So It's Cool, I think it's called. It's a banger, definitely go check it out. But the song, he has a song called On My Nuts, and it seems to check out because it was made about 4 years ago, so it checks out with the whole timeline of this Iceberg. And I don't know why it's so far down here. I guess the name of the song is pretty funny. Or I just wanted to shout out Lil Boudang. But besides that, it's a pretty good song. Okay, the next couple I'm going to do are like a rapid fire because I literally have no clue what these are talking about. We do OSU maps. Not really sure what this is talking about. Vertigoth. I'm not sure why they're down here. They just seem to be like a pretty run-of-the-mill artist that doesn't have a lot of followers. If there's a deeper meaning, let me know. Cardiac Arrested. I have no idea what this means. Obviously a wordplay on like cardiac arrest. Haha, so funny. But I have no idea what it means, so I'll leave it at that. Pitfall One Piece reference. I have no clue what this is referring to. I assume Pitfall made a One Piece reference in the song. A Roblox Core HCH HVH server. HVH server is basically hacker v hacker server, like in CS:GO. Not sure what the Roblox Core HVH server means, but yeah, there we have it. We actually did it. I can't believe I actually made this video. I was thinking of making this video since this came out like 2 years ago. I don't know, I started this video like a year ago and I never really cared enough to make it, but I randomly had this urge to make it. And I want to thank you all so much for watching this entire video. I know some of these descriptions were pretty vague. Please cut me some slack. This is my first actual serious video pertaining to like research and icebergs and that kind of stuff. And there's so many different SoundCloud artists that I'm sure I got some wrong. And please let me know in the comments. I won't be offended or anything. Just please let me know. There were some things on this list that probably shouldn't have been, which is why I'm calling out you guys to help me make an updated list of this of the Hyperpop Iceberg. Over the past 2-3 years, Hyperpop has evolved and changed. Even though it's not as popular as it used to be back in 2020, it's definitely grown into something a lot bigger than it used to be from its early SoundCloud of Roblox Core roots. I want to thank the original creator of this Iceberg for making it. Shout out you if you're watching this. Please say in the comments so I can thank you in the comments again. It's a pretty cool iceberg. And if there's things I got wrong, once again, please let me know. I'm pretty sure I got like half of these wrong. That's basically it. I want to thank you guys so much for watching this video. I'm not sure how long it's going to be. I hope it's an hour long because like those videos online that are an hour long on YouTube, they look super cool and I've always wanted to make one of those. But anyways, my name is Vincent. I want to thank you all so much for watching this video. It really means a lot to me. And please leave a comment, not a bad comment, a good comment. And as always, I'll see you guys in the next video.